Well, you see many exciting things in Milton Keynes, but do you see prehistoric animals? Because you are actually looking at one. I was walking down the street the other day, and a young person came to talk to me, and I thought, hooray, I'm going to finally have a chat with somebody who looks like a millennial. Even better, she said to me, I know who you are. And I said, even better, maybe some of my small fame from the late 90s has come back. You're that dot-com dinosaur, she said. What? But she's kind of right. I've worked my whole life in the technology sector, which now at age 46 feels like a very long time and a good moment to reflect on some of the changes that have happened over the last 20, 25 years. When I started my business with Brent Hoberman in 1998, lastminute.com, it felt as though the internet and the digital world was going to be so exciting. There was going to be opportunity for people that looked like me. There were going to be new voices from all over the world. There was going to be redistributed wealth, disruption of power, all kinds of exciting things were going to happen. We were on a ride. We had to convince people that the internet wasn't going to blow up. No one believed that lastminute.com was going to be successful. Our challenge was going to be to make sure that people would put their credit card details in the internet without any safety concerns and with the excitement of what they might find when they booked things online. It was a brave new world, and it was such a pleasure to be part of it. The most kind of profound unintended consequences when we were building lastminute.com were serious for the individual, but not really very big societal issues. I'll never forget when Justin, our head of customer services, came up to stand by my desk late one evening, as often happened, and he said, okay, clever clogs, you sort out this customer service complaint. It's like, I can do this. I thought I can always bring the customer around to my side. As a founder, you have that privilege. I picked up the phone thinking, come on, Justin, why was this such a big deal? I had 14 minutes of a man screaming down the phone at me. Thinking, what on earth is the problem? But this was because of the unintended consequence of the fast buy button that we had put live on the website. You know the button, we copied it from Amazon, don't tell anyone. You press one button, all the details were the same as the time you'd bought before. Only that's brilliant if the details are the same as the time you bought before. But if you're maybe not going on holiday with your wife and your family, and maybe you were going on a mini break with someone perhaps you shouldn't have been, and maybe the tickets ended up in your family home, that's not so great. Didn't really know what to do about that one, so I had to send his wife a bunch of flowers. But joking aside, we didn't really think about much of the unintended consequences of what we were building. It felt such a time of optimism, looking forward to the future, thinking about all of the amazing empowerment that we believed was going to happen with this new technology. But it hasn't really turned out quite like that. And now, as we stand late in 2019, it's definitely true that the internet and the digital world is having a bit of a midlife crisis. Now, I accept it might be me having that midlife crisis, but perhaps they're interlinked. There are so many angles from which the world of technology has somewhat disappointed me, and I feel a bit dispirited at moments. Firstly, it's easy to forget that half the world is not using technology, is not online. We all take it for granted, massively engaged with our smartphones, happily ordering things every day, looking for information. We live in such a bubble of technological advantage. I was lucky enough to be digital inclusion champion and then digital champion for the UK early this decade. And through that work, I saw how many people, even in this country, had never used the internet and what a profoundly bad effect that was having on their lives, what a disadvantage that was giving them. I'll never forget one young man that I met when I visited a crisis centre in a very poor area of Leeds, probably in about 2009, 2010. He looked at me and he said, the internet saved my life. I thought, now how can that really be true? Surely it was other factors. But then he described to me how he'd been found in a bus shelter, terrible drug problems, been taken to help get through them, and then encouraged to go and learn something that he could use to build his life again. And what he'd chosen was music, and the tools that they had given him were building music online, doing DJing online. Now, he played me some of this music, and I have to say it was a miracle that anybody wanted to listen to it, but that was when I felt even older than I do now. And he had therefore learnt a new skill, decided he was going to become a DJ, use this music to spread his exciting ideas online, get small amounts of payment for it. But importantly, he got some dignity and respect back just from that small engagement with using the internet. But we haven't gone far enough and fast enough, both at an individual level, but also more generally. My organisation, Everyone, has done some work looking at how people feel about technology. And while 50% of people say, yes, every day the internet and digital technologies have improved my life, only 12% think it has improved society. Now that's a huge gap. It's well documented now about the kind of techlash, how we're feeling anxious about the effect that all of these technologies and big companies are having on our lives. And it's understandable. Huge data scandals, cybersecurity breaches, the way the internet is being weaponized for the future, and a kind of splinter net. You may have heard about this idea, that we're building sort of parallel internets. We've got one kind of liberal Western internet, and then we've got a completely parallel internet in China, and then other countries, North Korea, Russia, Iran, using them for much more nefarious purposes. So that's why I say that right now we are facing a midlife crisis. And we need to sort it out, because these technologies aren't going to disappear. This moment that we're standing here together today is probably the slowest moment that we're going to live through in the future. This moment is the slowest moment we're going to live through from now. Everything is going to get faster. We need to be able to embrace these technologies for the benefit of everyone and use them responsibly to build modern, resilient digital societies. It's not optional, it's happening. So I think we need to make sure it happens with the most incredible care, and we need to build intent into what we use technology for in the future. So I've been working around 3 questions in trying to think about the future. They apply to me in the technology world, but actually I think they probably apply to everything. These are the questions. Firstly, will we look back in 10 years' time and be proud of the solutions that we've created? Are we solving the right problems? Now, for me, the most urgent crisis we face is the climate emergency. And I am amazed how little it feels that the technology, ICT, and general innovation world is focused on this issue. I did a bit of work, it's kind of MLF number, but about 3.5% of venture capital goes into climate crisis innovation. Now, there's a bunch of money in climate energy and green energy, but even if I'm wrong times 10, that is half of where it should be. It's not enough. We don't need any more CRM software. We don't even really need to worry about flying cars. That is not going to help us through the next decade. I would argue that we need to really encourage some of the smartest brains on the planet working in this technology, amazing technology sector, to question whether they are really focusing on building solutions to the right problem. That's the first question. The second question is, have we got the right voices in the room? Now, it's no surprise to you that as a woman in the technology sector, I feel so deeply passionately that we have not even begun to put the right voices in the room. It is astonishing that 96% of the world's software is built by men. Juul, the electronic cigarette company, I would argue the toxic electronic cigarette company, has raised $10 billion more than all of the female-founded tech businesses ever. $10 billion more. What is going on? By not having a diverse set of voices in the room, by supporting different ideas and creation, what are we doing? We are shortchanging ourselves, and we are definitely shortchanging the future. Now, I declare an interest here. I sit on the board of Twitter, and I think Jack and the team would say themselves that if there had been more women in the room, they might have had a different conversation from the outset at Twitter. Doing a huge amount now around abuse and security. But when you have a bunch of young white men who've never walked down a street feeling vulnerable, as every single woman in the world has done, of course you don't think about people shouting at you, perhaps behaving nastily, because you haven't necessarily experienced that in your own life. No one gets out of bed to do a bad job in the morning, but how can you see round corners and worry about your experiences when they are from a limited set of positions? So we need to very urgently put a different set of voices in the room. More women, but more people of colour, more people from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds as well, to challenge and to build the most robust products of the future. To give you a specific example, it's a bit of an old one, but it's still one of my favourites. Apple, when they were doing their health kit, kind of all singing, all dancing health kit on their whizzy new iPhone when it launched, had not one single thing, one single point of data about women's health. Nothing to do with periods, nothing to do with menopause, nothing to do with babies. Now, why was that? Because there was not one single woman on the health kit team. So they had to withdraw it and reissue it again. What a waste of time for business, what a waste of money, and what a letdown for your customer base. There are so many examples. So we need to make sure we get a diverse set of voices in the room from all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different identities of every kind. It's fundamental to building the best future. So, are we asking the right questions? Have we got the right set of people in the room? And lastly, are we using the tools of the modern age in the best way we can? Again, my charity Everyone has been doing some work on what responsible technology looks like. What tools do we need to make sure that we're building responsibility into the technology we're building? But it's not just about using the internet. It's not just about always making everything digital. It's about really thinking about what the right level of digital is, what the right use of it is, how we build for everybody, not just for the few, and how good software thinks about the consequences of what it's creating. Are we thinking about whether we're increasing inequality or decreasing inequality? Are we thinking about including the most number of people in the solution? It is possible to build amazing and responsible-looking technology. And I think that will go a long way to answering some of the anxieties that people have about how this technology is being used in society. We still have such an opportunity to improve lives, to move forward as an incredible set of human beings if we use the tools of the modern age in the best way possible. But this is very, very urgent. We cannot pretend that we are deploying technology in the right way. This is a rallying cry for us all to become more inquisitive about technology, to not turn a blind eye, not just to feel anxious, but to get actively involved and make sure that we really do save the future, get through the midlife crisis by making sure that we build with intent. I think it's possible. I think it's exciting, but I think it needs to start now. Thank you.